The world is a messy place. It's full of different cultures, languages, and most importantly, opinions. And sometimes those differences lead to conflict, especially when it comes to who gets to call the shots. That's where the idea of autonomy comes in. It's the right of a group of people to govern themselves, to make their own decisions about their own lives. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that what countries already do? Well, yes and no. See, in a perfect world, everyone would have the right to self-determination. But the reality is some groups have been marginalized, ignored, or straight up oppressed. Their voices haven't been heard. Their rights haven't been respected. Think about it. Colonization, forced assimilation, and cultural erasure have left many communities feeling like strangers in their own lands. That's why recognizing autonomy is so important. It's about righting historical wrongs. It's about giving power back to the people. But it's not just about the past. Recognizing autonomy is also about building a better future. A future where diversity is celebrated, not feared. A future where everyone has a seat at the table. Let's rewind the clock a bit. Imagine a time when New Zealand was a land of rich, untouched landscapes, and the Maori people lived in harmony with nature, their traditions deeply rooted in the land. Back in 1840, something pretty significant happened in New Zealand. It was a time of great change and uncertainty as the British Crown sought to expand its influence across the globe. The British Crown and various Maori chiefs signed a treaty. This document was meant to establish a framework for coexistence and mutual respect. This wasn't just any treaty, this was the Treaty of Waitangi. It was intended to be a cornerstone for a new relationship between two very different cultures. On paper, it was supposed to be a partnership, a genuine effort to share power and resources, ensuring that both the Maori and the British could thrive together. A sharing of power between the Maori and the British. The idea was to create a balanced relationship where both parties could benefit and grow. Spoiler alert, things didn't exactly go as planned. The lofty ideals of the treaty quickly met the harsh realities of colonial ambition and cultural misunderstandings.
The Treaty of Waitangi is a prime example of how quickly good intentions can go sideways. Despite the initial promise, the execution of the treaty was fraught with issues. See, the Maori and the British had very different understandings of what the treaty meant. The language barriers and cultural differences led to significant misinterpretations. The Maori believed they were guaranteeing their sovereignty over their lands and resources. They saw the treaty as a way to protect their way of life and ensure their future. The British? Not so much. They viewed the treaty as a means to assert their own dominance and control over the land and its people. They saw it as a way to assert their own dominance. This fundamental disconnect in understanding led to a series of conflicts and broken promises. What followed was a period of conflict, land confiscation, and cultural suppression. The Maori people faced immense challenges as their lands were taken and their culture was marginalized.
The Treaty of Waitangi, meant to be a symbol of unity, became a source of division and resentment. The initial hope for a harmonious relationship was overshadowed by the realities of colonial rule. But here's the thing, even though the treaty was flawed in its execution, it still holds valuable lessons. It serves as a reminder of the importance of clear communication and mutual respect. The Treaty of Waitangi reminds us that recognizing autonomy isn't just about signing a piece of paper, it's about genuinely understanding and valuing the perspectives of all parties involved. It's about truly understanding and respecting the values, beliefs, and aspirations of the people involved. Only through such understanding can we hope to build a future that honors the past and embraces diversity. For many indigenous communities, land isn't just about property lines and real estate. It's a living, breathing entity that holds the stories of their ancestors and the hopes of their future generations. The land is a sacred space where traditions are passed down, where the young learn from the old, and where the community comes together to celebrate their heritage. It's about their history, their culture, their very identity. Every piece of art, every story told, and every dance performed is a testament to their enduring connection to the land. These cultural expressions are not just for show, they are vital practices that keep their heritage alive and thriving. It's about the spirits of their ancestors and the future of their descendants. The land is a bridge between the past and the future, a place where the wisdom of the elders is imparted to the young. It's a sanctuary where the spirits of the ancestors are honored, and where the dreams of the future are nurtured. It's about a connection that runs deeper than any legal document. This bond is spiritual, emotional, and cultural. It's a relationship that cannot be quantified or easily explained, but it is felt deeply by those who live it every day. The land is a part of their very being, inseparable from their identity.
Now let's talk about something called allodial title. This concept is crucial when discussing land rights and ownership, especially in the context of indigenous justice. Allodial title represents the highest form of land ownership, free from any superior landlord or government claims. It's a fancy way of saying absolute ownership. This means that the landowner has complete control over the land without any obligations to a higher authority. It's a form of ownership that is rarely granted but is incredibly significant. In other words, you own the land, the whole land, and nothing but the land. No strings attached. This kind of ownership allows for true autonomy and self-determination, enabling communities to use the land as they see fit, without external interference. No landlord, no government, nobody telling you what you can or can't do with it. This freedom is essential for indigenous communities who have long been subjected to external control and exploitation. Allodial title offers a path to reclaiming their sovereignty and restoring their traditional ways of life.
The concept of allodial title is especially important when we talk about indigenous justice. It represents a return to a time when indigenous peoples had full control over their lands before colonization and forced displacement disrupted their lives. Why? Because for centuries, indigenous peoples have been denied this basic right. Their lands were taken without consent, their cultures were suppressed, and their communities were fragmented. Restoring allodial title is a step towards rectifying these historical injustices. Their lands have been stolen, exploited, and polluted. The environmental degradation caused by industrial activities has had devastating effects on their traditional territories, impacting their health, livelihoods, and cultural practices. Their connection to their ancestral territories has been severed. The loss of land has led to a loss of cultural identity and community cohesion. Reclaiming their land is not just about physical space, it's about restoring their way of life and healing the wounds of the past.
The Isleta Tribunal, an international people's tribunal, has been shining a light on these injustices. This tribunal provides a platform for indigenous voices to be heard and for their grievances to be addressed on a global stage. It's giving a platform to indigenous voices and holding states accountable for their actions. The tribunal's work is crucial in advocating for the recognition of indigenous rights and pushing for systemic changes that honor their sovereignty. The tribunal recognizes that true reconciliation requires more than just apologies. It demands tangible actions that address the root causes of injustice and pave the way for genuine healing and restoration. It requires concrete action, including the recognition of indigenous land rights. This means not only returning stolen lands, but also ensuring that indigenous communities have the resources and support they need to thrive. True justice involves empowering indigenous peoples to reclaim their heritage and build a sustainable future on their terms.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. We're diving into a topic that might seem a bit dry at first, but stick with us. It's more relevant and exciting than you might think. How do we actually go about recognizing autonomy in a way that's fair, just, and dare we say legally sound? This isn't just a theoretical exercise, it's about real people and real communities.
Well, some folks are looking to some unexpected places for inspiration. Admiralty law and the Humanitarian Uniform Commercial Code, or HUCC. These might sound like obscure legal terms, but they hold the key to some innovative solutions. Now, before you click away, thinking this is about to get super boring and legalistic, hear us out. There's a fascinating intersection here that could change the way we think about autonomy and justice. Admiralty law, traditionally used for maritime disputes, has some interesting principles that could be applied to autonomous recognition. It's about navigating uncharted waters, quite literally and metaphorically. Think of it as finding new uses for old tools. Just as a craftsman might repurpose an old tool for a new job, we can repurpose these legal principles for modern challenges.
The HUC, on the other hand, is all about creating a more equitable and just global financial system. It's a framework designed to ensure that everyone has a fair shot, no matter their background. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity and rights of all people, regardless of where they come from or what they believe. This isn't just about money, it's about respect and equality.
So, how do these two seemingly disparate things fit together? It might seem like a stretch, but there's a method to this madness. Well, imagine a system where autonomous groups are recognized as sovereign entities with their own currencies. These groups would have the freedom to govern themselves and manage their own resources. These currencies could then be integrated into a global financial framework governed by the principles of the HUCC. This would allow for a seamless and fair exchange of value across borders.
This framework would ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness. It would be a system where everyone knows the rules and everyone plays by them. It would prevent exploitation and promote cooperation. Communities would be empowered to work together for mutual benefit rather than competing against each other. It would be a system that works for everyone, not just a select few. Imagine a world where every community, no matter how small, has a voice and a stake in the global economy. That's the promise of combining Admiralty law and the HUCC. By blending these principles, we can create a more inclusive and just world. It's about taking the best of the old and the new to build something truly transformative. So next time you hear about Admiralty law or the HUC, remember that these aren't just dusty old legal terms. They're tools we can use to shape a better future for everyone. Together we can navigate the complexities of autonomy and justice, creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Let's set sail on this journey towards a fairer, more equitable world. Okay, so we've got this great idea of recognizing autonomy and creating a more just world. Sounds fantastic, right? But let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to be a walk in the park. There are some serious challenges we need to address.
First up, sovereignty. It's a big word with even bigger implications. When we talk about recognizing autonomy, we're essentially talking about recognizing new sovereign entities. And that raises a whole bunch of questions. What are the criteria for recognition? Who gets to decide? What happens to existing borders and treaties? These are all questions that need to be carefully considered and debated.
And let's not forget about defense. A sovereign entity needs to be able to defend itself. But how do we ensure that recognizing autonomy doesn't lead to more conflict and instability? These are just some of the thorny issues we need to grapple with. It's not going to be easy, but it's a conversation we need to have. The fundamental tension in implementing HUC law lies in balancing the principle of national sovereignty with the imperative of global governance. While the concept of universal human rights demands a supranational legal order, the deep-rooted attachment of states to their sovereignty poses a formidable obstacle. A potential solution lies in a federalist approach, where states retain significant autonomy while ceding certain powers to a global governing body. This principle, often employed in the European Union, suggests that decisions should be made at the lowest level of government possible. Applying this to HUC law could empower regional and local authorities to implement and enforce certain provisions. The world's rich tapestry of cultures and legal systems presents a significant challenge to the creation of a universal legal framework. HUC law must accommodate diverse values and practices while maintaining its core principles. A nuanced understanding of different cultures is essential to avoid imposing alien legal concepts. The law should be adaptable to various cultural contexts, allowing for local interpretations within a global framework. Continuous dialogue between different legal systems can foster mutual understanding and identify common ground. Ensuring compliance with HUCC law is a critical challenge. Without effective enforcement mechanisms, the law risks becoming a mere aspiration. A strengthened International Court of Justice, ICJ, or a new global court system could play a crucial role in adjudicating disputes. Collaboration between states, international organizations, and civil society is essential for effective enforcement. A system of rewards and penalties can encourage compliance and deter violations. HUC law has the potential to significantly impact global economic relations. It must be designed to promote economic growth while addressing issues of inequality and sustainability. The law should facilitate international trade and investment while ensuring fair competition and consumer protection. A global tax system could be explored to ensure equitable distribution of wealth and resources. The law should integrate environmental and social considerations into economic policies. Technology can be a powerful tool in implementing Huck law. Blockchain technology, for example, can provide a secure and transparent platform for recording and verifying legal transactions. Automated contracts based on blockchain can streamline legal processes and reduce disputes. Protecting personal data while ensuring its availability for law enforcement and other purposes is crucial. Technology can improve access to legal services, especially in remote areas. Huck law represents a bold vision for a more just and equitable world. While challenges are substantial, the potential benefits are immense. By carefully considering the issues outlined above and adopting a collaborative and adaptive approach, we can move closer to realizing this ambitious goal. Asterisk.